Hey folks, this is Jake Davis with Old School Rasslin for you today. I'm going to get this in just at the end of the month, and I'm going to try to shoot it right before this hurricane hits in beautiful, lovely, wonderful, tropical paradise known as Florida. Oh, I love Florida. The only problem is, storms, serial killers, mosquitoes, alligators, drug addicts, and of course, snowbirds. September. When it comes to wrestling pay-per-views, I've never really had it set show. You know what I mean? Halloween Havoc is October, of course. Survivor Series is the fall classic. SummerSlam now is apparently going to be go back and forth between July and August, and that sucks. And of course, WrestleMania is always in mid March to early April, and yeah, January, the Royal Rumble. Usually the last Sunday of the year. Usually try to get in like a week or two just before the Super Bowl. Never on Super Bowl because they're not suicidal. Anyhow, September never really had that show. I guess you could say Fall Brawl. Fall Brawl ran from every September from 1993 to 2000, which also coincidentally happened to be the exact same timeline as Bill Clinton's presidency. So going back and watching the Fall Brawls could be a nice little insight of the American zeitgeist and the culture through the perspective of wrestling eyes. But, and this month, earlier this month, we had Clash at the Castle, which was a phenomenal show WWE put on in Cardiff. And of course, 5 years back, we had All In, which was a game-changing event. No, it's 4 years back. So it was hard for me to really break down what's a good September one, because it's hard. And I got to thinking about, well, the closest thing we've ever had to definitive, this is the September event for wrestling, was Unforgiven. The first Unforgiven was WWE's immediate show after WrestleMania 14, and it was in April. But the next year, 1999 to 2008, 10 consecutive years, WWE put on an Unforgiven every September. And it's the only show that has that much time. It has a full decade of recognition. So I decided to go through the Unforgivens. And I came across the one I'm going to be talking about today. Unforgiven 2000. Now, I've seen this show before. It's a very good show. I had a cousin of mine actually had recorded it when they bought it and gave it to me. Gave me their recording of it as an actual gift. It was a VHS tape. You do this for me and my cousin Truck for Christmas presents. She'd buy all the pay-per-views. She's an older cousin, like she was my cousin's great cousin, and knew we liked wrestling. So she'd do this thing for Christmas for us a couple of years in a row. I think it was like 3 or 4 years in a row. And so I had Unforgiven 2000 and No Mercy 2000 on the same VHS, which is, I think there's pretty sure there was a warning not to copy these shows at the beginning of the shows, but never mind. Fuck the FBI. So, Unforgiven 2000 was the most successful Unforgiven event, not counting the one, right after WrestleMania 14. Most successful Unforgiven event, both in attendance and in pay-per-view buys. And as I said, it was 2000. It's a good year for WWF. It really was. Famously during this year, every single pay-per-view that the WWF put on, even counting their European shows, Rebellion and Insurrection, every single one of these pay-per-views are considered absolute legitimate classics in the annals of wrestling pay-per-view history, for the exception of WrestleMania that year. That's just funny. How the hell did you got everything right but WrestleMania? Anyhow, the show kicks off with one of those great Freddie Blassie, super dramatic, gothic promos where he's talking about really cryptically talking about all the different big storylines going in the show, mainly focusing around the storylines individual storylines of Stone Cold, The Rock, and Triple H, which I'll talk to when I get to their segments. I miss this shit. This kind of stuff was awesome. I'm sick of the trying to make it feel like, you're watching ESPN. You know what I mean? The run down the numbers of the Royal Rumble. A celebrity like Terry Crews comes out and tells you why SummerSlam is so special. I don't like that. I really don't. Granted, you can't just do the same thing all the time, but those Freddie Blassie promos were fucking brilliant. I'd love to just try something like that, something more theatrical and soap opera-y, So our commentators here are Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler, and our opening match is an 8-man tag team match. The Dudley Boys and the APA taking on the Right to Censor. Now, the Right to Censor this time, before Ivory joined, were Steven Richards with Bull Buchanan, the Good Father, and Val Venus. Somebody just texted me. I have to read that in a bit. I gotta pause this anyway. Okay, so I'm not gonna go into, who all these characters. Everybody knows who the Right to Censor were. The Right to Censor were heel faction that were very, very dominant from SummerSlam to WrestleMania, pretty much winning almost every single pay-per-view match you had during that timeline, winning the tag titles, the women's title, and until they finally got squashed, losing all their matches at WrestleMania 17, and then being beaten into oblivion by the Brothers of Destruction later in that month. I actually think the Right to Censor was an interesting faction, taking people characters that you have never seen interact before that. Characters like Steven Richards and Ivory hanging out with the Godfather and Val Venus. It gave everybody something a little different to do, and I thought all 5 individuals involved in this really looked good. I think it sucks that after the fall of the Right to Censor, they basically all just disappeared, and that was like the end of their run. Bull Buchanan became John Cena's hype man, who didn't talk. Like WWE didn't realize what a hype man was. Ivory virtually disappeared from WWE, except for maybe 2 or 3 pay-per-view appearances after that. Steven Richards was, he held around, but they never did anything with him. And, the same thing with Val Venus and the Godfather. They basically were taken off television for a year until they needed somebody to fill out the Royal Rumble. That sucks. Anyhow, the finish is Stevie never gets legal in the ring, in the match. Was able to hit his super kick on Bubba Ray. Val Venus covers him, and the Right to Censor win, of course. But I thought it was stupid booking, because you wanted to look to the Right to Censor look dominant, and everybody wants to see them get their comeuppance. So they win the match, but immediately after the match, APA and Dudley Boys beat the shit out of the rest of the team. They isolate Stevie, and he gets a powerbomb through a table. What was the point of them? It's like the same problem with 50-50 booking, They try to have it both ways, and I don't know. No one really walked out of the Dudley Boys got to beat the shit out of the Right to Censor, but they lost the match. Right to Censor won the match, but they couldn't protect their leader, Stevie Richards. Damn. Just realized I hurt my foot last night, and I just realized how bruised it is. Up next, we see Stephanie McMahon and Triple H backstage. A couple of backstage segments throughout the show. Hunter is basically concerned where Stephanie's loyalty is between him and her friend, Kurt Angle, going into their match later in the night. It's causing problems between Hunter and Stephanie. Hunter is so upset and so distraught about his wife possibly cheating on him with his opponent tonight. He didn't even get his wife a birthday present. Dick. Anyhow, up next is a strap match. Taz taking on Jerry the King Lawler, who gets up from the commentary table to have the match. I don't want to get all into what they did with Taz. I agree with everybody else. WWE had a huge break-in with Taz. Vince McMahon got called on because of his height, and then Taz was just made a mid-carder and more or less a jobber. And that sucks. It was bullshit. But this feud with Lawler, I actually kind of enjoyed. He got to show some charisma, some personality, using the fact that he's a loudmouth guy from New York. He picked on the two Southern commentators who are older than him, and it made him look like a real prick, and it was well done. The problem is with this was ultimately just the finish of the match. It's too even. If the referee gets knocked down from an accidental net ref bump, Raven hits the ring, returning to WWE for the first time since '94, I think, and the first time ever as Raven. Crowd goes nuts. Raven hits the even flow. Taz wakes up the ref, locks in Taz mission. Lawler's out. Taz wins. I said it then. Raven debuting, coming to WWE was awesome. It was a missed opportunity. Again, because Vince didn't want to do anything with him. But I thought it made Taz look bad that he needed help to beat a retired old man. He's Taz. He's supposed to be a killer. Yeah, Jerry should have given him a fight and held his own, but ultimately Taz beats him because he's Taz and Lawler's old. Hey, sweetheart. Stone Cold Steve Austin arrives to the arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, greeted by Kevin Kelly. This is Austin's first live appearance, since he was ran over at Survivor Series the year before. And he's made it very clear going through the show he's here for one reason only, to find the sorry son of a bitch that ran me down like the cowardly sack of shit that he is. He's going after this motherfucker, and he's going to fuck him up. And everybody is guilty until proven innocent. He pulls up, Kevin Kelly asks him how he feels, and Stone Cold immediately throws the son of a bitch into a wall and starts stomping on him. He talks some shit, but it doesn't matter. I want to make something very clear. This first 2 or 3 months of Austin just running in randomly and beating the shit out of everything with a pulse in his eyesight is one of my favorite eras of Stone Cold Steve Austin. I fucking loved it. Michael Cole then comes out and joins the commentary for the next few matches. Up next, we have a 6-man hardcore championship invitational. The gimmick to this match is the match will have a 10-minute time limit, and you can only pin the champion, and whoever is champion at the end of the 10 minutes is champion with a 24-hour break, of the 24/7 rules. The competitors are defending champion, the Lethal Weapon Steve Blackman, against Crash Holly, Funaki, the European champion, Al Snow, Test with Trish Stratus in his corner, swing, and Perry Saturn with Terry in his corner, double swing. I kind of like this match. It's chaotic. It is. You can tell that because of the obvious rush time, rush spots. I think there's a lot of miscommunication in the match. A lot of things look a bit scary, especially this one, like twisting her kind of wrong, like thing Crash does. But I think the guys make it work. Also, during this bit, was claiming to be from different European countries every time he came out. And of course, it was always in an offensive way. And this episode, for this match, he's from Italy. So, to represent Italy, he comes out. I literally can't say Italy without doing that. He comes out with a leather jacket, sunglasses, a pizza box, a wrapped dead fish, and a signed framed photo of Tony Danza. Yeah, that's accurate. It's pretty Italian. The first fall happens when the match doesn't even begin. Like bell rings. Perry Saturn is diving out of the ring right into a trash can lid smash from Steve Blackman. Fuck. I thought only Finlay would do that kind of insane shit. Crash Holly is able to steal a cover. I forget exactly what the detail here is. And he pins Steve Blackman. Tries to run up the ramp, but is instantly knocked the fuck out by Perry Saturn and is pinned Setsy Rhea Ripley style. Not so sexy when it's Perry Saturn and Crash, by the way. Then there's a lot of brawling through the crowd. They kind of kill their time, and with about 45 seconds spare, Blackman finally gets the belt back. And it seems to be like there was this obvious mistiming. Like, Blackman was supposed to win it a little later in the match. Because guys just stand around for like maybe 10 seconds, just like, well, what should we do? What should we do? And then they all just rush to Blackman. And it's just dudes doing like this kind of shit on each other, killing out the time. It's not the worst. Like, when you compare it to the hardcore invitational WrestleMania earlier in the year with 13 guys in 15 minutes in a legendarily botched finish. Compared to that, it's not so bad. It's even good. But, yeah, there's a reason they didn't do a third one of these. Up next, we see Kurt Angle runs into Stone Cold Steve Austin backstage. And it's their first time they've ever met. And Angle wants to give him an honorary, micro kid-size gold medal. And Austin just beats his ass. Oh, it's great. We get Chris Jericho versus Edgepark. And damn, this feud just went on and on, man. Look, I got nothing against Edgepark other than, he's Edgepark, but the man can't help who or what he is. But it's obvious he had just too much going on. It was constantly 4 years during one of during pro wrestling's like most prestigious and financially profitable time. There was just too much star power around for Edgepark to stand out. And then when wrestling became more of a young man's game down the road, where guys like AJ Styles, Chris Jericho, and Jeff Hardy were the main event, still, I don't think Edgepark could have hung with those guys during that run. Edgepark was a fine wrestler. He was fine enhancement talent. But that's all he was. He was never going to be a main event guy. And nor should he have been. As far as this feud with Jericho, it was one of those feuds of just like, there's no reason. These guys are just fighting over and over and over and over again. 4 months, trading victories back and forth. And really just because neither guy has really anything going on. Eventually Jericho wins with the Lion Tamer, but Edgepark attacks him after the bell. It's, to me, the most forgettable match on the show, which is a damn shame because it's Chris Jericho's match. The fuck. We have Kurt Angle and Mick Foley backstage. Kurt Angle's trying to get out of the match with Triple H later now after he got beat up by Stone Cold. Or he says Stone Cold tried to kick his ass. And Mick Foley's the commissioner of WWE at the time, and he's also a guest referee in the match later in the night. He decides to say, fuck it, it's going to be no DQ. Which Angle doesn't like. He storms off pouting. It's Kurt Angle style. Stone Cold goes to The Rock's locker room and doesn't attack The Rock. They shake hands, they wish each other luck for both. Stone Cold finding out who ran him over. Stone Cold wishes The Rock luck in defending the title in the main event later tonight. And Just Joe comes in. Just Joe is the guy who's popping up a lot in WWE programming at this time. Always stirring the pot, starting shit. Usually leading shit to matches down the line. Stone Cold says, well, I've heard of Just Joe too. I heard he's a sorry son bitch. Beats the shit out of Just Joe, throws him out of The Rock's locker room, and I swear to God, I don't think we ever saw Just Joe again. Good riddance. Go away. Up next is the match of the fucking night. Edge and Christian defend the tag team titles against the Hardy Boys, all up inside a steel cage. Oh, yes. Oh, fuck. Yes. Bring me a beer. This was awesome. This was so awesome. This match had a very specific stipulation to it, which was interesting. The match could be won by pinfall, submission inside the cage, or by both partners escaping the cage by climbing over the top rope to the floor only. The door does not count. This was interesting because almost immediately into the match, maybe 5-6 minutes into the match, Hardy Boys are going to climb out. They pull Matt back. Edge and Christian pull Matt back down, and Edge throws Jeff over the top of the cage to the floor. Scary fall for Jeff. Nowhere near the scariest fall of this match. Scary fall for Jeff, but then you instantly realize what Edge and Christian have done. They have isolated one of the brothers. Jeff's out. He's won. Yes, the Hardy Boys are closer to winning than Edge and Christian are, but now Matt Hardy is fighting a handicap match in a fucking cage. The rest of the match comes Jeff trying, how can I help? How can I get back in? And every time he's either thwarted or Edge and Christian taking advantage of his actions to further incapacitate Matt. The tension, the emotion is just building and building and building. Finally, Christian is able to go out of the cage, through the door, get his steel cage, get a ladder and a chair and all kinds of weapons. Christian and Jeff are fighting on the ladder. Lita comes out. She hits her Lita Conrana off the ladder on the side of the cage to the floor on Christian. Fucking scary as shit. Jeff gets up to the top of the cage. He hands Matt a chair. Matt, Jeff, and Edge are all on the top of the cage. The Hardys give Edge a concerto at the top of the cage. Edge just falls straight back off the top of the cage onto the mat, and it was absolutely fucking terrifying. The Hardy Boys climb down, win, become the new WWF Tag Team Champions. Nothing I say just said does it justice. This is a match you should go out of your way to see. So the reason this is considered, adding with the Dudleys, this is considered the greatest rivalry in tag team wrestling ever. Wow. Just a hell of a fucking emotional, intense, brutal, scary matchup here. Man, there was no weak link. There was nobody who was just, even though I said, Jeff gets thrown out, but, he just thrown so much passion and pain and rage, just throwing fucking referees around. What do you mean I can't get back in there? Motherfucker, throws him down, give me the key, goes to get the door, bam, door slammed on his head by Christian. It's so fucking good. It's such a good match, and it shows that, unlike what the two biggest wrestling companies ever did, WCW and WWE, when they would just, casually ignore the rules of their company, of their matches. No, this is a match that purposely shows rules in pro wrestling are there to build the drama, to create the atmosphere, to maintain the illusion. And masterfully done. Masterful work by all four guys. The referee should be proud of himself. The guy who threw the match together, everyone involved here should be proud. This is an excellent fucking match. Unfortunately, they would have a rematch with a ladder match the next night on Raw. These guys and they would also have a rematch at the next pay-per-view and another rematch the night after that pay-per-view. These guys fought too much. But this match was really, really fucking great. Up next, we have Stone Cold goes to Stephanie's locker room, and Stephanie's gives him a present. Oh, it's the hat he was wearing when he got ran over. I've been holding on to this for you. And just Stone Cold basically tells her, look, your husband may have done it, so I'm going to go kick his ass. Your brother may have done it, so I'm going to go kick his ass. I'll talk to you later, stuff. It was good. We have Triple H and Mick Foley have the backstage segment, and Triple H and Foley are they're talking about their rivalry, their history, but now Triple H is kind of pseudo babyface temporarily at this time, and he basically is just him saying that he's gonna beat the shit out of Kurt Angle, and he's glad there's gonna be no DQ, and maybe after all this week they can laugh and shit like that, but there's not gonna be laughs tonight. It's really a segment that didn't need to exist. It was kind of more the further burial of really trying to get over. Kurt Angle was doing a fine job of making himself look like a dorkish yet very dangerous top tier heel all by himself. He didn't need guys like Triple H trying to bury him. And it also was silly them doing something like this segment just a month before they were going to make Angle the world champion. I don't know. It was, I've always kind of speculated a little bit of legitimate envy that Triple H has for Kurt Angle. Maybe it's just me. Because all the matches they've ever had, even when Angle wins, it's like he doesn't really get over on Hunter, does he? This point, Jerry Lawler has returned to commentary, and Michael Cole leaves without even... he may get a pat on the back. There's no thanks, Mike. There's no attaboy. It's just... There's no, hey, no, please, stay for the rest of the show. Hang around for the main event. Enjoy your company. It's like, get lost, kid. Fucking Michael Cole was treated like shit for a long time in that company. And when I say for a long time, I mean like up until like last month. He was treated like shit in WWE. Up next is our Intercontinental Championship match. Latino Heat, Eddie Guerrero with China in his corner, defending the IC title against Rikishi. Look, man, I got nothing against Rikishi. I understand why people love him. He was great mid card thing. I actually found him more babyface, more interesting as a character when they tried to make him heel. I think they showed trade up is looking more. The thong wasn't working for a heel. Stink face shit, that wasn't working for a heel. But he was a veteran. He'd been in the business a long time, played lots of different characters. And being the guy who ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin and doing it in a way to kind of elevate his family to the top of the wrestling card is an unappreciated angle. Rikishi being the man who ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin, in my opinion, was not a mistake. It was a good call. It was a smart opportunity, and it was a bold approach. The problem was the execution, the follow-through. Rikishi, they shouldn't have had a match 10 days later that was a no contest. I had Rikishi basically getting squashed, even in a no contest. It should have been more of Rikishi being, really evil. He tried to kill a man. He's avoiding the match now, and when he is fighting people, he's making sure having matches. He's making sure Stone Cold Steve Austin is not legally around ringside. Go get your lawyers. This kind of stuff. Yeah, I did it, but you're okay. Why didn't you arrest me then? You can't just. There's legal procedures for this. They could have done something. Take away Rikishi's thong and play him up as a more serious, more cerebral villain, and build to the match with Austin. It didn't have to be a WrestleMania, but I would have waited till the Royal Rumble. Would have made the Royal Rumble so much better. Say the Royal Rumble starts, opening match, no holds barred, Stone Cold and Rikishi. Rikishi's forced to have the match. Stone Cold finally beats him, overcomes the size, the power, the mind games, and is completely focused on the main event now. Now I'm going to win the Royal Rumble. I'm going to beat the WWF Champion, and I'm going to main event WrestleMania. It could have been all building, or he could have lost to Rikishi, but won the Royal Rumble and could have had this kind of thing in his head. Was I just lucky? And it could have made his heel turn at WrestleMania make a little bit more sense. All I'm saying is stop hating on Rikishi or stop hating on WWE for trying to elevate Rikishi into a main event guy. They tried with him. It was the fans and the lack of focus that didn't make it work. This video is going long. Anyhow, Rikishi and Eddie have an okay match. The main story here is Eddie is a coward and Chyna wants her man to fight like a man. Eddie tries to get counted out, but she throws him back into the ring. Eventually, Chyna stops Rikishi from doing his finisher. Chyna pulls the referee out of the ring after Rikishi goes to hit his finish, or hits his finish. Rikishi's pissed off, pulls Chyna into the ring, hits her with a super kick, and the referee disqualifies Rikishi. The fuck? And then he drags Chyna over there and hits her with a bonsai drop, and this match was a nothing. Really. The only two matches on the show I really didn't give a shit had Chris Jericho and Eddie Guerrero on it. The fuck? Backstage, we have Jonathan Coachman interviewing The Undertaker, and Undertaker does a My Yard promo. He's going to be the WWF champion. He spit some chewing tobacco. I like Biker Taker. I did then. I still do now. But I do agree with one thing people say. This was, in-ring, some of his worst shit he ever did. As far as actual performer, he was overweight. He seemed depressed a lot of time. And he wasn't really working with talent. He famously buried guys like Kurt Angle and DDP. Fuck you for that. And also, it exposed Mark Calloway to that. As great and respected as he is, and legendary as he is, he was never really good on the mic, was he? Up next, we have Kurt Angle and Trish Stratus backstage. Kurt Angle's pouting about getting beat up and now has to wrestle a no DQ match with Triple H. And Trish Stratus is straight up looking for some dick. Kurt Angle's too much of a dork to realize this gorgeous woman is throwing herself at him. To be fair, the man has a match, baby. You can get. You need some time. I'll be back later. I'll hit it, but I gotta go to work first. So now we got the no DQ match, Kurt Angle and Triple H. And just like I said earlier with everything else, Angle Angle was about to be the WWE champion, but wasn't really being treated like a main threat. He was great in the ring. He beat the shit out of you, but he was a dork. Mick Foley's a guest referee, but really doesn't get involved in the match at all. He lets it go. The finish ultimately comes out. Hunter, because of his injuries, getting hit a week earlier in the ribs with a sledgehammer by Angle. He's having trouble getting the pedigree. Finally gets a pedigree just with one arm and tells Stephanie. The commentator's saying something like Hunter tells her to choose. I don't know. I didn't hear that. You know, you can usually hear Triple H calling shit. But Stephanie gets in the ring. She kicks Angle straight in the nuts, and now Hunter hits a pedigree. Then he gives his wife a kiss with a bloody mouth. Damn, dude. And yeah, that's that match. I don't know, man. Kurt Angle and Triple H never had really bad matches, but they always seem to be slightly lacking. Their best match they ever had together was the one was the mixed tag with Ronda Rousey and Stephanie McMahon. Up next, Shane McMahon comes to the ring. He says he has video evidence proving who ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin last year at Survivor Series, and his footage of Blackman a year ago running over Ken Shamrock. Of course, Steve Blackman had thrown McMahon off the Titantron at the last month's pay-per-view SummerSlam, so he just wants trying to set up Blackman for an ass-kicking. Stone Cold comes out, doesn't say a word, hits a stunner on Blackman, celebrates a little bit with Shane, then stuns Shane McMahon, then has some beers and leaves. All the build, all the hype. One of the main selling focuses of this pay-per-view was Stone Cold's return. And in-ring, I mean, he didn't... again, he doesn't have a match. He wasn't promoted for a match. But he doesn't say anything on the mic. He just walks out, kicks a little bit of ass, and leaves. That's why Austin was the best. We have Michael Cole interviews The Rock, and Rock cuts one of his best promos. Rocky was always great at cutting promos when he was having multi-man matches, and could have a chance to just rip on multiple guys. It was good to see how he could steer his focus and his train of thought and stuff like that. He was masterful at promos. A lot of people say The Rock is the greatest greatest talker in wrestling history. And I'm not going to 100% disagree with you, but personally lean slightly towards guys like Dusty Rhodes and Chris Jericho. Dudes that can legitimately get emotion out of you with their promos. And not just... Rock was electric. He would be so energetic and so wired for his promo, for his match, and so fucking intense that, you know, it just translated. You could feel his energy. He was great at that. As far as storytelling with the mic, no, he wasn't the all-time best, but you know, that ability to connect and just draw in the crowd, yeah, it was the greatest ever. Okay, just one thing. Then I'll talk about it. Alright, main event time. Sorry I've been talking too much. Fatal 4-way for the WWF